I finally got to experience the M1X and the M2 in all conditions. So let's talk about these wings. What is the difference? Which one is better for which rider or riding style? Thanks a lot to Ride Engine for supporting this video. They sent me one of their electric pumps, which helps a lot when reviewing wind wings. Let's go.
Welcome to Matt on Foil.
You're gonna learn what is in the package, you're gonna see how they behave on the water, and then you're gonna learn about the differences, like which one is for which kind of rider. Let's get into it. All right, first let's take it out of the bag, and you immediately feel with the M1X, this thing is feather light. It's incredible how light the material feels, and I gave it to my kids to just like hold in their hands, and that they even said it's a huge difference. And the difference is especially there if the wind is not there yet. So if you have to hold it, if you have to, get in the water and maybe carry it over something, this is phenomenal. I have both of these wings with the boom just because I prefer riding on a boom, and I wanted to weigh everything. You can find all the weights on uponfoil.com, measurements, weights, and I took off the boom just to weigh it to see how much it weighs without the boom. And honestly, this connection is so strong to the middle strut that the second one I didn't even bother taking it off. So the connection to the middle strut is super tight. The distance to the boom is actually quite big. Like here in between the boom and the middle strut, there's place for an arm. So if you, like in winter, you don't have your grip anymore, you could also put your arm in and hold it just like that. Now, this wing has a double pump system, so you pump the central strut and the front, the leading edge individually, which, is what it is. The caps are super high quality and there's really nothing to say about it. What you notice right away is that the handle, the free fly handle, is not too soft, not too stiff, nothing hard on there, and there's a neoprene part just in between the wing and the handle, so holding it is super comfortable. What you always get with your PPC wings is some sail, some material for the front tube, some battens in case you lose them, and a little soft shackle. And actually, I might use that for my boards. Let me quickly show you the leash that is attached with a simple loop. It's a Dyneema with an elastic inside, and you have a loop that you put over your arm. It's not just like Velcro all around, so if you were to somehow take it off, it wouldn't slip off your hand. This is a very good leash. It's got a swivel as well. Epic. I took it off here and put it on other wings just because it is that good. And it doesn't grab the boom, so it doesn't get sticky around the boom, which is nice. Love it. You've also seen there are windows in these wings, and even though you always need to check what's under you when you start jibing or look around before you do any weird maneuvers, having windows and a little more awareness of what's around you, I think it's a great thing, and kudos to all brands who decide to put windows in their wings. It's a double pump system, so the central strut and the leading edge are pumped individually. And the reason why is probably because the central strut needs 9 psi and the leading edge is at 8 psi. The caps over the system, super high quality, Velcro, works super nicely. Prices of these wings are actually quite high, I thought. But that's just what good wings cost. Here you have the price of the M1X, which is a lot. And here is the price of the M2, which I think is quite a fair price. Now let's take out the M2. Let's compare it right away. Now, of course, the M2 has also your repair kit, but you have a little more black. You have the same free fly handle. You have the exact same boom. The difference between the M2 and the M1X at first glance is the material. Like the leading edge and central strut are Dacron, which makes it a little bit heavier. But they're not just downsides to this material. Actually, it has some advantages as well. Let's talk about those. Now, the material at the M1X is super strong, super solid, also much more expensive. Usually you can pump these a little harder, they are more rigid, which on the water is gonna have some impact. Here, the leading edge and the central strut are to be pumped at 8 PSI, which, you know, makes the whole wing a little bit softer. But you know what? That's just what happens when you take it out of the bags. Let's take it on the water. Let's taxi and compare it on the water. So when you hold those wings in marginal conditions and you just hold it up, you feel the lightness of the M1X. And it's really very comfortable, because if you have to hold it up and there's not the wind helping you, the lighter material is super nice. Like, I really enjoyed that. If you have to hold the M2, it's still not the heaviest wing, but you know, there's the difference that you really notice. As soon as there's a little wind, both wings work super nicely. Like, they're super direct. But let's pump up on foil. Let's use the energy of the wind and the wing to get on foil. And actually, that's where the first difference is. The M1X is super direct. If you pump it, you really need to make very precise movements in order to get the most power out of it. It's not so stiff that it's really difficult to pump, but you can feel it's a little stiffer. Still, the canopy moves a bit with you. You need to find the cadence, and I think the cadence is a little higher. If you take the M2, you pump it and you feel there's a little more grunt. There's a little more power in that wing. So if you pump it, it gets you up quicker. At least it got me up quicker. That's also, maybe I'm an intermediate winger. I'm not the best out there. So if you give those things to a pro, then he probably can pump up, or she can pump up on foil with the M1X as well as with the M2. For me, the M2 worked a little bit better in the low winds. As soon as you have enough wind, it doesn't really matter which one you take. You get pulled up on foil anyway. So those was taxiing, getting on foil. How do those wings behave in maneuvers? And honestly, those wings are pretty similar. They both turn very well. They don't do movements that feel weird. So really, to maneuver, super comfortable, both of them. If a gust hits, there's another little difference, because the M1X is more direct. If the gust hits, you need to anticipate a little more and then also react quicker. The M2 absorbs the wind a little bit more, and it's actually easier to ride with the M2. Both wings go upwind very well. Maybe the M1X goes upwind a little more, but it's pretty similar. And honestly, going upwind, of course, the wing helps, but it's also about the foil. It's especially about the technique of the rider. So both of these go upwind. If you have gusts, and I had to wait for a long time to find these gusty conditions, if you would be overpowered, so with these fivers, I'm 73 kilos, I'd be overpowered with a fiver in maybe 22, 23 knots. I had a couple of gusts going over 25. Both wings coped with it very well. Like, it was not a problem. Just ease a little bit the back of the wing, and they don't do weird stuff. They don't front stall. And even if you don't have the perfect angle towards the wind, yeah, both are actually quite comfortable. The M2 is certainly a little bit more forgiving than the M1X, but both are comfortable wings. If you were to start winging, I would probably go for the M2, just because the material is probably a little more suited to you. Maybe you're making mistakes, it's easier to fix, it's cheaper as well. So if you're a beginner, go for the M2, but if you have weak arms like myself, probably go for the M1X. If you want ultimate performance though, and not lose one single bit of that wind and go all in on speed, then the M1X is probably more your wing. One other difference, and you might laugh at it, is the color. And honestly, like, this bright punchy yellow of the M1X makes me like using this wing a little more, because it's just more fun. And also, it's a safety thing. The visibility of that M1X, that yellow, that glows through your darkest session. So maybe it's just for me because I like punchy colors. If the M2 would have the same color option, I would 100% go for the bright yellow. Like, this is phenomenal. Now, even though those wings are great, there's still like a little thing that I would like to see improved in the next generation. And that is the connection from the boom to the central strut. Even though like the connection from the boom to the attachment point is really good, the distance to the boom is so high that if you move it around, there's a little play and it's just not the most solid connection there. Other than that, there's really not much. Like, I can highly recommend all these wings. Now, which one of these two would I keep? And that's a really hard decision because I love the characteristics of the M2, and also like the Dacron makes me, you know, be a little more careless with the wing. But the punchy yellow of the M1X, I think I'm gonna opt for that one because it's just so cool to have such a beautiful, bright, light, and punchy color on your wing. Call me superficial, but you know, color is important. Yeah, I think that was the review of the PPC Wings. If you like reviews of your average intermediate foiler, then maybe, you know, support me. Buy me a cup of coffee, link is in the description. If you want to see more reviews of foiling gear, there's a whole playlist. And I've reviewed some wings already. The last one was the Vayu EOS 3. You can find it here. And many of you are not subscribed. If you don't want to buy me a coffee, fair enough. Maybe hit that subscribe button because that helps as well. See you guys in the next one.